Developing right now on Morning News Now, tragedy and turmoil in the Middle East. Overnight, the U.S. launching strikes against Iran for a 9th straight night after an Iranian attack that killed at least 2 American troops.
Well, we feel very badly, but you know, those great people, those great patriots are out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Now, the expanded war renewing doubts for a peace deal with Tehran. We'll bring you the latest. Also developing, wild weather sweeping across the U.S. over the weekend, leaving entire neighborhoods flooded from Texas to New York. And it's not over yet. Right now, another severe storm system is taking aim at the Midwest, plus tens of millions of Americans still under air quality alerts. We're tracking it all. False positive. This morning, the FDA walking back claims linking a massive parasite outbreak to lettuce from a popular supplier. But does that mean the greens are safe to eat? More on the developments and what doctors want you to know. And Vamos España, Spain celebrating being World Cup champions once again after defeating Lionel Messi and Argentina with a goal in extra time. We will have highlights from a thrilling end to an incredible tournament and how it brought the world's love of soccer right here to the USA. Those photos right there, too, of the first ever World Cup halftime
Exactly.
show.
So if you weren't into the soccer, maybe you were into the music.
Yeah.
I'm grateful it was a 3 p.m. Eastern start time, so we got it all in. Plenty of time to wind down last night.
It's so true.
And then talk about it this morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Thank you for starting your week with us. We're going to begin this hour in the Middle East, where the conflict between the U.S. and Iran appears to be escalating. U.S. Central Command says it completed a 9th consecutive night of strikes against Iran on Sunday, targeting military command centers, air defenses, and missile and drone launch sites. The ceasefire between the two sides now appears over, while the number of casualties climbs.
The Pentagon is now sharing the identities of the 2 U.S. service members killed in the Iranian attack on Jordan on Friday. They are 25-year-old Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan and 19-year-old Private Isabella Gonzalez. Yesterday, the U.S. military announced it recovered unidentified human remains while searching for an American service member reported missing after that same attack. CENTCOM also said another U.S. service member was killed in a separate incident in Iraq on Saturday. That brings the total number of U.S. personnel killed in the months-long war to 17. Colonel Steve Warren is standing by with analysis, but we begin with NBC's Alice Barr in Washington with the latest details. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. President Trump said the latest strikes against Iran were in honor of the fallen service members, as he acknowledged that the mission has gotten larger than originally expected. Overnight, a 9th straight night of U.S. strikes on Iranian military targets. And as the war ramps up, so does its costs. The U.S. military said Sunday it recovered remains while searching for an American service member missing since an Iranian missile and drone attack in Jordan that killed 2 other U.S. service members on Friday. The remains now being examined to determine if they match the missing.
We hit them very hard again tonight. And we did that in honor of the probably 3 as opposed to 2 great patriots.
Separately, U.S. Central Command said an American service member was killed Saturday in Iraq during a controlled detonation of ordnance from a downed Iranian drone that hadn't initially exploded. At least 17 U.S. service members have been killed since the war began nearly 5 months ago. President Trump acknowledged this has become a bigger job than what he initially told the American people would take just a few weeks.
What we're doing now is we're ending any chance where they could have a nuclear missile. If you look at it, after a week and a half, not 4 weeks, a week and a half, 2 weeks, we stopped them from probably, but I don't want to have the word probably.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio said Sunday night the U.S. is still open to negotiation, but that the Iranians appear internally split.
They continue to send signals that they want to talk, that they want to negotiate, but their behavior is what we're responding to. And their behavior is they're launching missiles and drones against ships, including tonight.
Adding that the U.S. will respond as long as Iran keeps trying to control the Strait of Hormuz. Amid the renewed fighting, gas prices hit $4 a gallon on average nationwide again this morning. While on another note, President Trump said the new Air Force One that was gifted by Qatar will be sent back in for maxed out upgrades following concerns about the plane's security systems raised after the president unexpectedly took off from the NATO summit in Turkey in the old Air Force One, just as hostilities with Iran were heating back up. Joe and Savannah.
Alice, as for the deaths of these American service members over the weekend, how does that change the picture of this war now nearly 5 months in?
Yeah, it certainly raises the pressure on President Trump, who's been trying to say that this war is winding down. Difficult to say that when casualties are going the other direction. And as he put it, the latest strikes are in honor of the latest fallen soldiers. But lurking behind that wording is retaliation. Is the U.S. going to step up more to retaliate? The last cluster of American soldiers killed was back in March when the war was at a different phase. And the more American service members we see dying, the more you wonder if you're headed back there.
All right, Alice Barr in Washington, thank you.
For more on this, let's bring in NBC News military analyst Colonel Steve Warren. Colonel, good morning. So as the U.S. conducts these consecutive nights of strikes, Iran has now expanded its retaliatory strikes to neighboring U.S. allies, in part at least showing that they still have the capability to do so. Do you see this expanding into a broader regional war?
I think we're very much at risk for this expanding into a broader war. What we're seeing right now, Alice recently just talked about how there's some pressure on the commander-in-chief maybe to find a way out. But simultaneously, I think the deaths of these tragic deaths of these service members gives the commander-in-chief a little more space to increase the level of violence that he brings to the table against Iran. And we're starting to see that a little bit, expanded target sets, striking IRGC locations as opposed to just striking radar sites, et cetera. So at this point, I think we're sort of in a loop where this is going to continue to grow before it begins to shrink again.
Colonel, let's talk more about that. Targeting military infrastructure, Central Command saying that's including also command centers, air defenses. What does that tell you about the U.S. strategy right now at this point in the war?
Right. I think these last 9 days began as a punishment strikes, as a series of punishment strikes because Iran was targeting ships. I think that has now grown a little bit to where these are now becoming pressure strikes, right? We are trying to increase the pressure on Iran to get them to change their behavior, to get them to stop striking ships in the straits and to get them back to the negotiating table. So this is slowly and steadily increasing, and I think you're going to see that continue over the next few days as we expand these target lists, begin to hit more military infrastructure. Presumably, we've already hit some bridges, so that's dual use infrastructure, and I think you're going to see that continue over the next several days.
Colonel, it's been more than a week since the U.S. began ramping up its attacks against Iran. Does not appear that that's slowing down anytime soon. We also have the Strait of Hormuz as this continued major sticking point. It actually saw traffic at its lowest level over the weekend in weeks. What do you think it would take for both sides to de-escalate at this stage in the war?
Well, there has to be an incentive to de-escalate. And at this point, there is no easily identified de-escalation incentive. So what I predict we'll see right now, both sides are trying to pressure the other side into crying uncle, essentially saying, okay, I'd like to de-escalate. That hasn't happened yet. We've seen the Iranians now. They've killed service members in Iraq, in Jordan. They're sending missiles all throughout the region. So the Iranians are escalating, trying to pressure the United States. Simultaneously, the United States is escalating, trying to pressure the Iranians. So right now, this is a punching match right now. And we have to wait and see. Eventually, something will emerge. Not clear what that will be, but I think we're in for several more days of these kind of intensifying strikes, Savannah, unfortunately.
All right, Colonel, good to see you as always. Thank you so much.
In political news, there are new developments in some key races that'll shape this year's midterms.
Yeah, in Maine, former state Senate President Troy Jackson is now on track to become the Democratic Party's pick to take on GOP Senator Susan Collins. That is after all of Jackson's most prominent opponents dropped out of the contest over the weekend.
Here to talk about that and some other key races, NBC News political political reporter Megan Brand. Megan, good morning. So how did we get to this point in the main race, which is moving rapidly, and where does it go from here?
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, over the weekend we had 4 major Democratic candidates dropping out of the race. It came as Democrats were electing delegates over the weekend that would later go on this upcoming Saturday to vote for whoever would be Graham Plattner's successor. So let me walk you guys through who exactly dropped out. We had Maine Secretary of State Shenna Bellows. We had Nirav Shah, who's the former director of Maine Center for Disease Control and Prevention, former congressional staffer Jordan Wood, and Dan Kleban. He is the co-founder of the Maine Beer Company. Now, the dropouts came as Troy Jackson supporters won most of the delegate seats over the weekend. So according to his campaign, Jackson supporters won 481 out of 500 delegate seats that were being voted on this past weekend. So looking ahead, next Saturday, that is when 601 delegates are going to vote on the next successor, which appears now, there appears to be a lot of support consolidating around Troy Jackson. Now, while it seems that most of the delegates are Jackson supporters, they're not required to vote for Jackson, but certainly right now there's a lot of support consolidating around him to be the person to face off against Senator Susan Collins in that must-watch race this fall. It's going to be crucial for Democrats if they have a chance at ultimately flipping the Senate blue.
Megan, another race that we're following is in Michigan. The Democratic Party's biggest progressive figures, they turned out over the weekend to support the Senate candidate there, Dr. Abdul El-Sayed. Now, his main rival for the party's nomination is Representative Haley Stevens. It's a contest that's shining light really on campaign funding. So tell us about that and what we heard over the weekend there.
Yeah, so over the weekend, you had 2 major progressives going to campaign with El-Sayed. So you had Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They traveled to Michigan for that rally. Now, they've all been critical of millions of dollars in spending on pro-Stevens ads, including, that's from outside groups, including a super PAC associated with AIPAC. Now, as part of this campaign, too, support for Israel or criticism of support, financial support for Israel has become a major topic in this campaign. So El-Sayed's been very critical of financial support for Israel. Take a listen.
So it is time for us in this country to stand up and decide that we are no longer going to send unconditional foreign military aid to foreign governments. Not Israel, not Egypt, not Jordan, not Saudi Arabia. I want my tax dollars in Michigan. I want good schools in Michigan. I want good roads in Michigan. I want health care in Michigan. I want child care in Michigan. I want my money spent in Michigan.
Stevens supports a 2-state solution for Israelis and Palestinians, and she's also gotten some prominent endorsements as well, including from Senator Gary Peters. He's the incumbent senator right now who's not running for re-election. He's endorsed her to be his successor, and also from senators including Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Senator Ruben Gallego, and Senator Chris Coons, guys.
Megan, while we have you on the Republican side, we're following the race to succeed the late South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham, who passed away just over a week ago. What's the latest there?
Yeah, Congressman Ralph Norman announced in a Fox News interview that he plans to jump into the race. Now, in that interview, he expressed support for President Trump's priority of the Save America Act, which would reshape how elections are operated in the U.S., though there's not enough support right now in the Senate for that to ultimately move forward. He also expressed support for killing the filibuster as well. Now, just a day earlier, though, President Trump had said that he endorsed Senator Darlene Graham, that's Senator Lindsey Graham's sister, who is filling his seat for the remainder of his term. President Trump said that he endorsed her to run for a full term. Now, in that Fox News interview, Congressman Ralph Norman said that he spoke to President Trump to basically ask for his blessing in this race. And he also said in that interview that if Senator Darlene Graham does ultimately run for another term, that still would not impact his decision to not run in the race, saying that he would still continue to run, guys.
All right. Megan Brand in Washington. Megan, thank you.
Well, controversial social media influencers Andrew and Tristan Tate are in federal custody after U.S. officials arrested the brothers in Miami Saturday. The arrests are connected to criminal cases in the United Kingdom, where authorities are seeking to extradite both men to face rape and other charges.
Andrew Tate now faces more than 30 counts stemming from alleged offenses between July of 2010 and August of 2017. Those counts include rape, assault, sex trafficking, and child pornography offenses. His brother, Tristan Tate, also faces multiple counts, including rape, sex trafficking, and sexual assault. They both deny any wrongdoing.
NBC News legal analyst Danny Savalas joins us now from the UK with more. Danny, good morning. So British authorities are saying that these new charges follow the discovery of additional evidence. What do we know about that and what led up to the arrests?
Well, according to what's been published by authorities here, the Bedfordshire police received a fresh file of new evidence, new alleged victims or complainants, bringing the number of complainants from 3 up to, I believe, 7, and dramatically increasing the number of charges up to over 40. So these are charges that initiated the U.S. Marshal Service to go out and initiate extradition proceedings.
So, Danny, the U.S. Marshal Service says the warrant remains sealed right now. Why would details of the charges be kept under seal at this point?
The charges themselves are not under seal. They are published on the website by law enforcement authorities here in the UK. But it's very common for the arrest warrant for the U.S. Marshals to be kept under seal because when you think about it, extradition often involves fugitives. Fugitives are people who are avoiding justice. So you don't want to telegraph that we're looking for fugitives by filing that in a court document. So the charges themselves are known and public. The actual arrest warrant for the Marshal, it's routine for that to be sealed, and then it will be unsealed at the first appearance. It's kept sealed so you don't telegraph to fugitives to go and run and go hide somewhere else.
The brothers are now awaiting extradition proceedings in the U.S. Is that a slam dunk? Does that mean they will go to Britain to face trial?
Legally, it should be a slam dunk, but it likely won't be, and here's why. Extradition, at least international extradition, is the product of a treaty between the United States and whatever country is requesting it. We have a treaty with the UK. It's a powerful treaty. And, by the way, some countries will not extradite their own citizens. Under the treaty, these folks can be extradited, but here's where it's tricky. If Andrew Tate has been a vocal supporter of President Trump, and there are a few ways the executive branch could slow down or even stop these proceedings. Number one, the DOJ has to file a complaint. It's just a formality, but they may choose not to or delay it. Number two, ultimately, no matter what the judge does here in the States, the Secretary of State has to sign and execute a warrant. And that could die on the Secretary of State's desk if the administration decides these are defendants that they want to prevent their extradition. Now, I couldn't find an instance of this ever happening in history, but at least under the law, it's possible.
Beyond the potential politics of this, we should note that the Tates, they're dual citizens in the U.S. and the UK. What does that mean for extradition proceedings? Could it complicate things at all?
No, that's least likely to complicate these proceedings. Some countries are reluctant to hand over their own citizens. The U.S. loves handing over their own citizens. I'm saying that as glibly because really we're very, very open to entering into extradition treaties with not just the U.K., but lots of countries. So we will turn over our citizens if the criteria are met. So, for example, if a foreign country has something outlawed that the United States would never make a crime, that might be grounds to refuse extradition. But the mere fact that you hold a U.S. passport or are a dual citizen will not protect you like a force field from extradition proceedings. Their better argument is that these charges are old and really a pitch to the administration to say, hey, just slow this down and maybe throw up some roadblocks so we can stay here as long as possible.
All right, Danny Savalas, thank you so much.
Much of the country is cleaning up this morning after a weekend of deadly storms. Severe flooding created headaches out west, here in the Northeast, and also in Texas Hill Country. That's where at least 2 people were killed. Experts say nearly 1 trillion gallons of rain has fallen in parts of the Lone Star State since last week. Now, Governor Greg Abbott is issuing a major disaster declaration and is asking for federal help for some hard-hit areas. Here in New York City, heavy rain flooded neighborhood streets. Emergency crews had to rescue several drivers who got trapped after making that all-too common mistake trying to drive through the floodwaters. NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro has more. Valerie, good morning.
There was no shortage of severe weather over the weekend, with flash flooding claiming the lives of at least 5 people in Utah. And now there is a tropical storm system brewing off of Florida's Gulf Coast. Severe weather making a return, hammering parts of the southeast with wind gusts of up to 70 miles an hour. As the Northeast cleans up after rounds of storms pummeled the region Saturday. Whoa! Heavy rain flooding New York City streets and cars.
Bro, this is insane.
People trying to wade through knee-high water in Manhattan. And concert goers left disappointed after singer Noah Kahan canceled his first night at Citi Field, citing inclement weather.
I don't want a refund.
2 tornadoes touching down in Pennsylvania. This video showing what appears to be a funnel cloud. Trees coming down in the Baltimore area. And a family in Maryland saying lightning started a fire at their home. This all coming after days of dangerous weather. Deadly flooding in Texas, Ohio, and in Utah, where a firefighter, his wife, and 3 of their children were found dead at a campground. A lightning strike in that state also killing a hiker. And in the Midwest, Canadian wildfire smoke still not easing up, where air quality remains at unhealthy levels. Minneapolis, Detroit, and Chicago all ranking in the top 10 of the worst air quality cities in the world. That tropical depression is set to become Tropical Storm Bertha, and Texas and Louisiana could see impacts from that later in the week. Back to you.
All right, Valerie, thank you. Let's get a closer look now at what to expect this week with your morning News Now weather.
Meteorologist Andrea Romero is with us in studio. Hey, Andrea, good morning.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. And we continue to monitor that growing threat, basically that's impacting the Midwest and also the Great Lakes. We can see here all these storms. They're going to be moving through that region today into tonight. We have this cold front that's going to be sweeping through, bringing that torrential rainfall and that severe weather threat. So looking at the risks, we're talking about damaging hail, wind gusts of over 75 miles per hour, and a few strong tornadoes possible, especially in this enhanced risk area, specifically over parts of Wisconsin. Now that threat will move eastward tomorrow as the front targets the East Coast and the Ohio Valley. Heavy rain could lead to flooding in some locations, and we could also have the risk of damaging hail, tornadoes, but the main risk will be straight line wind damage with gusts of over 75 miles per hour possible in this location. So aside from the threat of the severe weather, we also have that heavy rainfall with locally up to 3 inches that could bring some flooding into many locations. As far as the air quality alerts, 47 million people continue to be impacted here in parts of the Great Lakes and also the Midwest as well. We're expecting that wildfire smoke to continue to impact that region. But the good news is that although the air quality is still unhealthy, the numbers are a lot better than what we saw last week. Some of these numbers were in the 700s. Now they're in the 100s, 200s. In Chicago, we had 400, and now we're in like closer to 150. Now here is tropical depression number 2 that we're monitoring here in the Gulf Coast. The conditions are going to be deteriorating along the Florida Panhandle today. The system itself is 120 miles south of Panama City. It's moving northwest at around 3 miles per hour. Its sustained winds are 35 miles per hour, so it's expected by this afternoon to become possibly Tropical Storm Bertha, and we can see those tropical storm watches extending from the Florida Panhandle into Alabama. So this system will continue to organize over the Gulf. Bands of rains will be hitting the Florida coast and will be meandering and gaining strength as it heads over towards Louisiana. So we have a lot to track this week. Back to you guys.
All right, Andrea, thank you so much. Well, police are investigating a burglary scare at the home of NFL star Saquon Barkley. Officials say Barkley and his family were all inside the house when the intruders broke in on Saturday. No one was hurt, though. It's the latest in a string of incidents where thieves target the homes of professional athletes. NBC News national correspondent Morgan Chesky has the details.
a brazen break-in at the home of NFL star Saquon Barkley. The suspects gaining entry around 5 a.m. Saturday, while police say the Eagles running back and his family were all home.
All the occupants of the house were physically okay, obviously a little unsettled, as anybody would be, but no one was harmed.
Authorities say the individuals fled the location by the time officers arrived, and that it doesn't appear anything was taken from the residence, adding they're now investigating whether this white SUV is tied to the burglars.
We know there's more than one, but we're still trying to determine how many were involved.
The incident appears to be the latest in a string of high-profile break-ins nationwide. This 2024 surveillance footage shows thieves at NBA player Bobby Portis's house.
I had a home invasion, and they took most of my prized possessions.
Chilean authorities returning 6 watches to actor Keanu Reeves last year, including one from the set of John Wick with an inscription on the back. After his own break-in, Cincinnati quarterback Joe Burrow isn't taking any chances with his coveted Heisman Trophy.
I had it locked up in a safe place for all you robbers out there who are getting any ideas.
The NFL, NBA, and FBI have previously warned athletes to update security systems, install cameras, and keep valuables in a safe.
Much more to come here on Morning News Now. Federal health officials now walking back tests that linked a parasite outbreak to a lettuce supplier. What you need to know before you head to the grocery store.
But up first, a new era of leadership in the United Kingdom. More on the country's new prime minister and the challenges he faces next. We'll be right back.
We got some breaking news out of the UK this morning. The country is officially welcoming its 7th prime minister in just over a decade.
Newly appointed leader of the Labour Party, Andy Burnham, just met with King Charles in Buckingham Palace and is due to deliver his first speech as PM outside Downing Street shortly.
NBC News international correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now from London. So, Raf, walk us through what has happened so far this morning and how is Burnham's meeting with the King?
Hey guys, good morning. So it was all smiles from what we can tell from this photograph released by Buckingham Palace. The King formally asking Andy Burnham to form a government to become Prime Minister. Burnham accepting that, and we believe pretty soon he will be heading to Downing Street, not far from here, where he will give his first speech as Britain's new leader. Now, this is becoming a pretty familiar routine for King Charles as this kind of revolving door of British prime ministers continues. The King has been on the throne for just 4 years. He is now dealing with his 4th prime minister, and it is kind of interesting how these days work here in the UK. Before he appoints the new prime minister, he accepts the resignation of the outgoing prime minister, Keir Starmer, in this case. And so it can be kind of emotional for the outgoing leader. They are losing the job that they have wanted for so long. They have to go to the King. They formally resign. And then just an hour later, the King is dealing with the beaming new incoming leader, full of hope, full of positivity. By tradition, prime ministers do not talk about what they discuss with the monarch. Guys.
So what can we expect, though, from Burnham's first speech as prime minister? Do we think that his agenda is drastically different from former Labour leader Keir Starmer?
So, Savannah, as you say, these are two men who are both from the Progressive Labour Party. Burnham has signaled that he plans to be a little more left-wing than Starmer, but he also is presenting a very different political style. He's somebody who, when it's up to him, he wears T-shirts rather than suits. He cultivates a kind of authentic man of the people persona. He is an absolute soccer fanatic. We're told he's going to speak at Downing Street without a podium. He wants to appear a little more spontaneous. The question is, can he get the economy in this country going, which is something that has bedeviled the last 6 prime ministers in this chaotic decade since Brexit. Starmer won an election just 2 years ago with a massive landslide, but then he ran straight into a lot of frustration among British voters who felt that change wasn't happening fast enough, and especially that the economy wasn't going fast enough. Burnham says that he is also going to try to move power from here in London to other major cities like Manchester, where he was formerly mayor. Guys.
So, Raph, as a soccer fan, he's probably thrilled with Saturday's result over France. But let's talk about relations between the UK and the U.S. I mean, what does Burnham's leadership mean for those relations and just dealings with President Trump, since politically they are on very different ends of the spectrum?
Yeah, and Burnham has been quite critical of President Trump in the past over January 6th and other things. He says that he wants good relations with the U.S., but he's prepared to stand up to the president. We had a chance to catch up with Sir Ben Bradshaw. He's a former cabinet minister who served alongside Andy Burnham, and we asked him what he thought the relationship with the president would look like. Take a listen.
I think he will get on well with Donald Trump because he's a good conversationalist, and he's also very good at thinking on his feet. I mean, the thing with Donald Trump is you never really know what he's going to say. And sometimes if you're not a kind of flexible politician who can think on your feet, you get it wrong. He will be able to think on his feet and he'll be able to react with whatever Donald Trump throws at him.
Now, Trump has also been quite critical of Burnham. He dismissed him a couple of weeks ago as very liberal, but he did find some kind words about the incoming British Prime Minister last night, saying he believes it's a positive thing that Burnham is planning to open up new oil drilling in the seas off of Scotland. Guys.
All right, Raf Sanchez. Raf, thank you.
Well, the war between Russia and Ukraine is shaping the future of battlefield strategy with its reliance on drone warfare. Just last week, Russia said it shot down more than 200 Ukrainian drones that were part of a barrage of strikes on Russian ships. Well, now militaries around the world are taking notes, including Taiwan, which fears an invasion from China. The small island country has ramped up its drone production, manufacturing thousands per month. NBC News international correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer explains.
In Russia's war with Ukraine, drones have transformed the battlefield. Cheap to build and easy to fly, they can hunt targets deep inside enemy territory and attack with deadly effect. And while it looks a lot like a video game, this is the future of warfare, unfolding in real time on the front line. It's a military revolution being closely watched thousands of miles away in Taiwan, where factories like this one near Taipei are ramping up production of the sort of weapons that could defend the island in a potential war with China.
We're seeing drone in action in the modern warfare.
The company, Thunder Tiger, got its start making remote-controlled toy cars, but has pivoted to first-person view drones and unmanned sea vessels capable of carrying explosives across water.
We have the capacity and the capability to set up our own fortress, the manufacturing fortress here. And best of all, it's non-red.
Non-red, meaning drones and parts here are not coming through Chinese supply chains. Instead, Thunder Tiger builds its own components like motors.
So how many pieces a day?
There's about 1,000 pieces per day.
The motors made here end up on drones like this. This is an attack drone. And this one company is making 2,000 a month.
Taiwan's government has committed $1.4 billion to procure nearly 100,000 drones by 2028, about half for the military, as it builds a homegrown drone industry free of Chinese parts.
You want to shift from foreign military sales, which take a long time to deliver, to direct commercial sales, which are dual use kind of technologies that can deliver faster.
Yet production is not nearly enough for what Taiwan is up against. Across the Taiwan Strait, China's People's Liberation Army boasts hundreds of stealth fighter jets, high-tech missile systems, an expanding fleet, and a leader who has made no secret of his ambition to unify Taiwan with the mainland by force if need be. We have 100% confidence in our readiness, new equipment, and strategy, this Taiwanese colonel told us last year. With Chinese military activity around the self-governed island, including amphibious landing drills in the Taiwan Strait, there is a race to overhaul Taiwan's defenses, not only with billions of dollars in U.S. arms deals for advanced missiles and upgraded fighter jets, but low-cost expendable drones to power a next-level asymmetric strategy. Not unlike how Iran used drones and other small munitions in the Strait of Hormuz. It's what U.S. defense experts call a hellscape, swarms of drone and mine defenses around Taiwan to defeat a Chinese invasion.
The idea here with the hellscape is to make Taiwan look so prickly or so difficult to invade that China decides that it's not worth it.
How far out is Taiwan from being able to realize this strategy?
It really depends on money. If you have enough of them and can use them well, you can actually create a lot of chaos and make it really, really difficult for China.
The challenge for Taiwan's defense industry is scaling up and training soldiers to use them. China also isn't standing still. Its military parade last year showcasing deep investment in drones, lasers, and hypersonic missiles. The PLA splashing videos across social media of what a future conflict with China could hold in a drone production industry that it dominates. Taiwanese companies are now exporting drone systems and components to Europe, promoting their technology at a defense expo in Poland. They're also building commercial partnerships with Ukrainian organizations, combining Taiwan's manufacturing edge with Ukraine's battlefield experience. Technology forged by one war, shaping how another may play out. Janice Mackey-Freyer, NBC News, Taichung, Taiwan.
Coming up, major developments in a nationwide parasite outbreak that sickened thousands of people.
The FDA now saying tests that linked it to a lettuce supplier were a false positive. So what does that mean for you? Our Dr. Sayal is here to explain next on Morning News Now.
We're back now with an important update on the cyclospora outbreak linked to iceberg lettuce. Well, the FDA now says a Taylor Farms lettuce sample that initially tested positive for cyclospora was actually a false positive after experts at the lab re-examined the results.
The company's voluntary recall does still remain in effect as grocers and retailers race to pull potentially affected lettuce off shelves over the weekend. The recalled products were distributed to 27 states. Now, the FDA says there are currently no confirmed positive product samples as the outbreak investigation continues.
For more on this outbreak, we're joined now by NBC News medical reporter Dr. Akshay Sayal. Dr. Sayal, good morning. Great to see you. I think a lot of people are wondering just like, how does a false positive here even happen?
Yeah, so it's a great question, Savannah. Good morning, guys. You know, the false positive, for those who don't know in medicine, false positive means that a test comes back as positive despite the condition or disease not actually being there. So in this case, what we saw is that, the FDA did some testing on Saturday, suggested that there may have been cyclospora in this lettuce from Taylor Farms, and they seem to have done some sort of confirmatory testing or sort of re-looked at the test and decided, you know what, hey, that was a false positive. It's not actually there. And so, when we talk about these tests, guys, what they do is they amplify tiny little bits of genetic material. So they take the DNA or the RNA from the sample and they sort of blow it up so it's easier to detect. But sometimes, because these tests are so sensitive, they can produce false positives and they need to be confirmed. False positives in medicine can happen all the time with COVID tests, with things like mammograms, so it's not uncommon to see. So not terribly surprising.
Let's take a look at the numbers here. The CDC data says we're at, 7,000 cases either confirmed or under investigation. That spans across 34 states at this point. Help us understand why in these situations it is so difficult to pinpoint what the actual source of the outbreak is, why it's taking so long, since these numbers, they date back to May 1st.
Yeah, Joe, I think the big thing is the incubation period. So what that means is, the time you're exposed to something to the time you actually develop symptoms, sort of the incubation period of the parasite, is up to 2 weeks, meaning that, think about it. Do you remember what you even had for breakfast yesterday? Because sometimes I don't. And so when investigators are asking people to trace back 2 weeks worth of data, every single thing.
No way.
Yeah, no way. No way I could do that right now. And so that's what makes this a little bit challenging. And so for people out there who are watching, who are having these symptoms, just be mindful that it could take up to 2 weeks for it to show. And that's what makes it so hard to trace back, is doing all of that data retroactively.
So where are we at with lettuce? Are we eating it? Is it safe?
We were just talking before the show. I am still eating lettuce, but I am minimizing it. I am going for cooked options. And for those who don't know, it's best to avoid bagged lettuce. Always get the whole head of lettuce, shave off the outer 2 layers, and wash it very, very thoroughly. We don't need to stop eating all fruits and vegetables, right? I mean, there's one extreme where people are doing that. There's the other extreme on TikTok. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but people are trying to get the parasite as a sort of Ozempic to lose weight.
Oh, dear.
And please, no on both fronts.
Right.
So there is a way to do this safely. We don't need to stop eating all fruits and vegetables, but please prepare them properly. It's not just cyclospora, right? It's E. coli, salmonella, all sorts of things to watch for.
and those TikTok people talk to someone or hear from someone who's experienced cyclospora, you might not actually want to put yourself through it.
The internet is something.
It's hard because we don't know the source of this, but then do we have to worry about cross-contamination at stores or restaurants as well? How do we kind of wrestle with it?
Yeah, you know, it's always a risk, Joe, with things like cyclospora or other foodborne illnesses. There is always that risk, and there's a reason, you know, those health department ratings are always displayed right out front. But I would say, you know, for people looking to minimize things and sort of reduce their risk overall, but not stop enjoying food, you know, go for cooked fruits and vegetables when you can. It's 160 degrees is really the only surefire way to kill the parasite.
What is the temp?
158 to 160 degrees. Yeah. So, for example, if you're eating a bag of spinach, you know, saute it on the stove and cook it just to be safe. Other things that have been linked to this, you know, cilantro, raspberries, snow peas, all sorts of fruits and vegetables that have linked to this outbreak in the past. So things you may want to just be a little bit careful, especially around right now.
All right, Dr. Sile, thanks as always. Let's end this hour by introducing you to the Utah family who've turned their love of the outdoors into the ultimate hiking adventure.
Together, they set a lofty goal that took them all over the U.S. Alex Cabrero from our Salt Lake City affiliate takes us along for their journey.
They've got the magnets, the stickers, and every Junior Ranger badge along the way.
What's that other park that's there?
But Jake Moon will tell you the goal was something you can't put on a board.
It's become like this goal together that we all wanted to achieve, and all of our kids were involved in it. Lots of time on the road.
That goal started back in 2017 when their oldest son, Carson, was in 4th grade, which meant free passes to America's national parks.
So we had 2 years where we had 2 4th graders. And so in those 2 years, we just said, well, let's do this.
They started with Capitol Reef, and in those 2 years, they visited 23 national parks.
We were like, well, we're like kind of halfway there. We might as well just keep doing this.
It became a family goal to visit them all, though he'll admit he had no idea what it would take.
Not at all. No, like it's easy to go to, you know, there's a lot in Utah, there's a lot in California. You can get to Grand Canyon in just a, you know, relatively short drive. But then you start looking at, oh, we got to go to Alaska, and there's 8 in Alaska.
Some parks up there meant bush planes because there are no roads to get in. But through the boat rides, hikes, and countless hours on the road,
we go to the next one?
They did whatever it took to finish. And just last month was park number 63, American Samoa. Mission accomplished.
They have a little bit of a special thing that they have, like a certificate they give you there because so many people end at American Samoa.
This journey brought them to amazing waterfalls, to unbelievable wildlife, and to all kinds of scenery showing how beautiful America truly is.
But I think it's awesome to just see all of the different places around the country.
And at the end, it turns out the greatest thing they brought home wasn't another sticker. It was the decade of trips together.
You have so much time together that, you know, it just became like a family adventure.
Oh, our thanks to Alex Cabrero for that story. Well, the family's next goal, they're going to visit all 50 states.
Which I have to imagine they've checked a few off already.
No kidding.
I feel like
they
should get more than a certificate, but they have the memories, so that's the most important
Yeah.
thing. All right, that's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
Stay with us, though. The news continues right now. Good morning, and thank you for kicking off your work week with us. I'm Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, harder to breathe. Wildfire smoke across the upper Midwest not letting up. Tens of millions facing suffocating air quality alerts. Well, a weekend washout brought more devastating floods to hard-hit Texas, even slamming New York, canceling major concerts here. So what's your week going to look like? We've got your full forecast in a moment. Fire and fury, both in the Middle East and back here at home. U.S. Central Command touting another consecutive night of attacks against Iran. Casualties, though, now rising. The Pentagon saying multiple American service members confirmed killed in separate strikes. We're on the ground with the global fallout as gas prices stateside once again start to tick back up. Plus, a new leaf on the investigation over where exactly that nasty cyclospora illness actually grew its roots. Walmart now pulling some lettuce-laden products from its shelves. That's even after the FDA said the Taylor Farm sample yielded a false positive. So where does the federal government go from here? We've got the latest in a moment. And later in the hour, the world reacts to the new kings of the beautiful game. A Spanish stunner in extra time, sending Lionel Messi and crew home to Argentina empty-handed, with sparks, even a player or two sent flying all along the way. No surprise. It was a passionate final.
No kidding.
That went down to extra time.
Oh, a lot of emotion, yeah.
We'll dig into it in a little bit. Let's start this hour with another round of severe weather cutting across the country. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott has issued a major disaster declaration. He's also asking for federal help after the state had nearly 1 trillion gallons of rainfall just over the past week. The flooding is blamed for the deaths of at least 2 people in the Hill Country. And here in New York City, people are cleaning up after a severe round of flash flooding washed out streets and flooded cars over the weekend. The fire department had its hands full rescuing drivers who got stuck after trying to go through those flooded streets.
Meanwhile, across the Midwest and Great Lakes, 47 million people from eastern Minnesota to western Pennsylvania are under air quality alerts this morning because of those wildfires burning up in Canada and blanketing the region in thick smoke. NBC News correspondent Maggie Vespa is in Chicago. That's one of those cities dealing with that smoke. She joins us with the latest. Maggie, good morning.
Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, quite the mixed bag this morning, but we'll start here in Chicago. And if you didn't know any better, you might think this was like some beautiful morning fog rolling in off of Lake Michigan. But no, once again, it is Canadian wildfire smoke blanketing the city's skyline. We got a brief break from it on Saturday when the smoke kind of cleared out, and then we had another round of this toxic haze move in yesterday around the same time that dangerous storms were firing up across much of the country. Overnight, a relentless run of severe summer weather continues, with millions across North Carolina and Virginia pounded by heavy rain.
So much water coming out, the rain is insane.
While out west, flash flooding sweeping across this Utah highway. In just minutes, a wall of water overtaking homes and buildings. It follows a weekend of wild storms across the U.S.
Okay, that's not good.
In New York City Saturday, fast-rising floodwaters swallowing subway stations underground and streets above, even stranding 2 men on this box truck. First responders eventually guiding them to safety, walking on that narrow ledge. Meanwhile, this Maryland home's roof caught fire after neighbors say it was struck by lightning.
It sounded like people were throwing stones by the handfuls at my windows.
The storms causing major flight delays and cancellations.
This is crazy.
And turning deadly in Ohio, where authorities say at least 1 person was killed while dozens were rescued from the water.
I had my 3-year-old son in the back.
Meanwhile, several major cities spending days under the haze of Canadian wildfire smoke. This was New Jersey's MetLife Stadium Saturday, just 24 hours before Sunday's World Cup final, when conditions thankfully improved. Chicago's air quality deemed unhealthy again today.
I hope it goes away sooner than later.
And to that end, air quality alerts here in Chicago in effect throughout the day today, with experts just recommending people limit their outdoor activities as much as possible, guys.
All right, Maggie, stay safe. Thank you so much.
So what is in store this week? Time for your morning news now weather.
Meteorologist Andrea Romero joins us. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning, Joe and Savannah. The threat of severe weather will continue this week for parts of the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and even into the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. So today and tonight, we have this cold front that's going to be sweeping through the Midwest, bringing those torrential rain and severe weather to this whole area, which is under this enhanced risk of severe weather, especially over parts of Wisconsin, where we can see a few strong isolated tornadoes as the storm system moves through. We can also be dealing with damaging hail and wind gusts of over 75 miles per hour. The front will target the East Coast and the Ohio Valley into tomorrow, where heavy rain could lead to flooding. So those are the concerns with the severe weather, as we are also expecting strong gusty winds of 75 miles per hour, which can cause damage in those areas. Now, as far as those air quality alerts, 47 million people are being impacted here, also in the same region of the Midwest and the Great Lakes, and the air quality is unhealthy for many areas. The good news, though, is not as bad as it was last week. We had numbers in the 700s in parts of Minnesota. We're down to the 100s in Duluth. Even in Chicago, we can see those those hazy skies right now. We're at 147, which is deemed unhealthy, but those numbers are a far cry from those 400 levels that we had last week. Now here's Tropical Depression 2. Yes, we are tracking a tropical system in the Gulf Coast that could possibly become this afternoon Tropical Storm Bertha. Right now, the center of the system is located around 110 miles south of Panama City, Florida. Conditions are beginning to deteriorate in this area with those outer bands starting to bring rain into the area. Winds are sustained at 35 miles per hour and are expected to strengthen as the storm strengthens as it moves parallel to the Gulf Coast. It's moving at a very slow pace, 3 miles per hour, so will gain strength as it moves along this area. We have tropical storm watches up all the way from the western Florida panhandle into the Mississippi-Alabama border, and that's where we're expecting the worst of the conditions today into tomorrow as the storm intensifies and then possibly moves over New Orleans and even brings some conditions into Texas. We're looking at wind gusts of around 50 miles or sustained winds of around 50 miles per hour as the maximum level for this system. We are also looking at locally up to 6 inches of rainfall, flash flooding, especially in urban areas along this whole area, especially from Cross City into Tallahassee and Port St. Joe. And in addition to this, we are also expecting some of that tidal flooding and also that storm surge that can lead to levels 1 to 3 feet above average. We also have 70 million people being impacted by the heat. That's extending over here from the northern plains into the Mississippi and Tennessee valleys. We are looking at temperatures that are like 5 to 15 degrees above average, and this steam and this heat will continue through tomorrow. That's about it as far as the weather. Back to you guys.
All right, Andrea, thank you. Well, in the Middle East, the ceasefire between the U.S. and Iran appears to be over as the number of casualties climbs. Earlier this morning, the Pentagon shared the identities of the 2 U.S. service members killed in an Iranian attack on Jordan over the weekend. The U.S. military also said a 3rd U.S. service member was killed in a separate strike in Iraq, but they have not yet been publicly identified. Meanwhile, the U.S. is showing no signs of de-escalating the conflict. CENTCOM says it completed a 9th consecutive night of strikes on Iran yesterday. NBC News chief international correspondent Keir Simmons is in Jordan with the latest. Keir, good morning.
Hey there. Hey there, good morning to you. And those details from U.S. Central Command of those U.S. service members who were killed here in Jordan reveal that they died on separate days, on Friday and on Saturday, and that one of them was a 19-year-old female private from Texas. There has been a bombardment from Iran here. NBC News has assessed that there were 28 missile interceptions here in the days around that fatal attack. 5 waves of missiles and drones in as many days. Missiles intercepted, then an explosion. New video showing a fireball erupting at an airbase here in Jordan where multiple Americans were killed. It's not clear if the video shows those fatal attacks. An alert is heard in another recording from the strategically crucial airbase. U.S. Central Command saying that 2 U.S. troops lost their lives in attacks this weekend, identifying them as 25-year-old First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan and 19-year-old Private Isabella Gonzalez. The military also saying that unidentified remains have now been found of a 3rd person at the site. CENTCOM vowing swift punishment, releasing video of its escalating operation on the 9th night of strikes since conflict resumed.
We hit them very hard again tonight, and we did that in honor of the probably 3, it's probably 3 as opposed to 2, great patriots.
And in northern Iraq, where Iranian strikes hit near a U.S. base, CENTCOM announcing another American fatality during the controlled detonation of an Iranian drone. The number of U.S. dead since the start of the war, now at least 17.
We feel very badly, but you know, those great people, those great patriots were out there fighting that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon.
Here in Jordan, air raid sirens, Iranian missiles and drones unrelenting.
They are all fighting.
They're all fighting. It's escalating.
Exactly, yeah.
Does that worry you?
Yeah.
Frighten you?
Yeah, for sure.
Civilian targets increasingly struck in this war. Iran hitting a water plant in Kuwait, the victims hospitalized. While in the Strait of Hormuz, a monitoring organization says another vessel has been hit and abandoned this morning. As the war is seemingly escalating again throughout the region. And there are glimmers of diplomacy. Iran's foreign ministry, for example, this morning saying that talks are possible, but underscoring the challenge for the US team in negotiating with Iran. Iran's foreign minister over the weekend admitting that he currently does not have face-to-face conversations with the ultimate decision maker in Iran, the supreme leader.
All right, Keir, thank you.
Now, the conflict overseas is once again hurting wallets here in the U.S.
Yeah, the escalation between the U.S. and Iran, of course, it's once again pushing up those oil and gas prices across the world. That means we're all feeling it at the pump.
NBC News business and data correspondent Brian Chung joins us now with more on that. So first of all, just give us the overview. Where do things stand with gas prices right now?
Yeah, well, AAA is saying this morning that we did hit that $4 mark again. That is the first time that gas prices have been in the $4 mark since June 17. Now, you'll recall that we had almost 2 months of straight price declines as a result of those negotiations between the U.S. and Iran. And then we had a memorandum of understanding that quickly fell apart. That was when we started to see gas prices go back up. And I think the unfortunate aspect here is that gas prices are likely going to continue going up because guess what? Crude oil barrels are trading higher in the market going into this week after the things that we just heard from Keir with regards to those shots being exchanged between the U.S. and Iran. And so for that reason, we could likely expect to see gas prices at the pump continue to go up from here, as on the West Coast, you see states like California, Washington with averages above $5 a gallon. So this is really, the pain is coming back for a lot of these Americans, especially as that summer travel is still happening.
Outside of this most recent rise, is there a wider concern about the volatility of prices here?
Yeah, look, I think that one big concern here is the U.S. Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is the stock that we have in the country that we've been tapping and using and releasing to blunt the impact of these higher prices as a result of the Strait of Hormuz, that critical channel where a fifth of the world's oil travels through, being choked up. Well, we have the supply. We could just tap that. The problem is that we're draining so much of that supply. We are now at levels that we have not seen since the 1980s. That is a very big concern and suggests that we might not have as much dry powder, if you will, to blunt the impact of oil prices as they go back up. And so this is something that we're going to be watching very closely. We know that as a result of these, new shots that are being exchanged from both sides, there's just less traffic going out of the Strait of Hormuz. There's about 8 tankers that went through there yesterday. Normal traffic pre-war was like 110, 120. That is certainly not going to plug the supply. And guess what? Neither might our Strategic Petroleum Reserve either.
Clearly, this is contingent on what happens with the war, and we don't know what that's going to be. But is there any way to gauge when prices could come down again? Are there other factors that play a role here?
Yeah, the challenge is, unfortunately, no. In fact, there are other factors that suggest that prices could remain elevated even outside of what's happening in the Middle East. The war between Ukraine and Russia is still happening. Russian oil is a big part of the global supply picture as well. And so as long as all of those things are happening, there's likely going to be continued upward pressure on the prices that we see at the pump. Crude oil barrels are now floating around with the idea of like $90 a barrel. That is, again, $20, $30 higher than we were during the midst of that MOU between the U.S. and Iran. And so for that reason, we could likely see prices go up at the pump again, even further past $4 a gallon, as we've already seen this morning.
All right, Brian Chung, good to have you with us. Thank you so much. Now to a major update on the cyclospora outbreak. The FDA says a Taylor Farms lettuce sample that tested positive for the parasite was actually a false positive. But the widespread recall remains in effect as another major retailer pulls lettuce supplied by the company from its shelves. All as officials are still investigating thousands of cases and racing to find the source. NBC News correspondent Ann Thompson joins us now with the latest. Ann, good morning.
Good morning, Joe. This morning, as health officials continue their detective work on precisely what's causing this spread, the nation's largest retailer is pulling some items from its produce shelf.
New confusion on the cyclospora outbreak sickening thousands of people across the country, as one company, Taylor Farms, voluntarily recalls its iceberg lettuce in 27 states because of potential contamination. This weekend, the FDA, looking at whether there could be a larger outbreak, tested a lettuce sample from Taylor Farms not involved in the recall and said it found cyclospora. but overnight said that was a false positive and that no products have tested positive for the disease yet. The agency is now continuing to investigate the source of the outbreak. Still, the Taylor Farms recall is ongoing, and the company says it has suspended distribution of iceberg lettuce from central Mexico. And Walmart pulling market-side bagged shredded lettuce and iceberg salad supplied by Taylor from its shelves in multiple states. Walmart adding there have been no confirmed illnesses associated with the products. Dr. Jennifer McIntyre is a food safety expert who's consulted for Taylor Farms in the past.
Most grocery stores, restaurant chains have systems in place to remove the product from the shelf once they hear about these issues.
Right now, the federal government says 1,645 people across the country are confirmed to have the illness.
This pain was like nothing I've ever experienced.
Maria Aguilo, a marathon runner and childhood cancer survivor, says she was sick for 3 weeks before getting treatment.
This isn't a normal stomach virus that it's going to last, 2 to 3 days and you'll go back to your normal life. It's going to throw off your life for weeks.
The recalled iceberg lettuce was distributed as recently as last Thursday. And some of that market-size lettuce, that's the lettuce that's sold at Walmart, it has a use-by date of August 3rd. So if you have that in your refrigerator, get it and throw it out. As for Taylor Farms bagged salad mixes, very popular, the company says those are not involved in this recall. Joe?
All right, Ann, thank you. Well, later this morning, the family of Nolan Wells will lay the 18-year-old to rest 2 weeks after his body was found near Mississippi Island as the investigation into his death continues. NBC News national correspondent Aaron Gilchrist joins us now from Mississippi with more. Aaron, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. We know that visitation will start here at this church in just a little later this morning. The family of Nolan Wells has made this a funeral service that they want to include as many people as they can, friends, family, teammates, and the larger community. We've talked to people around here who did not know Nolan Wells, but they feel for his family and hope they find answers about how he died. This morning, family and friends set to honor the short life of Nolan Wells as the investigation into how he died intensifies. Inside this massive church in his hometown, a huge turnout is expected, and his mother is planning a fitting celebration.
I know if Nolan was here, he'd be like, Mom, just keep talking to the people, keep telling my story, keep telling your story. So that is going to be my plan.
Reverend Al Sharpton will deliver Nolan's eulogy as demands for justice are growing. According to a newly released incident report, his mother reported her 18-year-old son missing at around 12:22 a.m. on July 5th.
Please report her 18-year-old son, Nolan Wells, missing last seen at 3 on Horn Island.
His body was found a day later on the northwest tip of Horn Island. Nolan went on an Independence Day boat ride with friends to the island just off the Mississippi coast, but his friends returned to the mainland without him. In audio of a call obtained by NBC News through a records request, someone on the boat reported a mechanical failure to a private towing company.
I want to get this boat unsank and towed back.
The towing dispatcher reached out to a local boat captain to help.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
But the company says it did not end up towing the boat, saying to NBC News in a statement, before assistance was rendered, the vessel owner advised that sea tow was no longer needed because help had already been obtained. Sea tow's involvement concluded at that point. Now, Nolan's community prepares to say goodbye while struggling with a haunting mystery.
I think we all still stand behind the parents and just want them to, get their peace and their questions answered.
Now, we understand that the family will hold a private, invitation-only repast reception after the funeral later this afternoon. At the same time, the investigation into what happened to Nolan is continuing. The sheriff is still asking for people to send in unedited video and pictures they may have from Horn Island on July 4th. And the autopsies that were ordered both by the state and by the independent autopsy that was ordered by the attorneys for Nolan's family, the results are still outstanding, Savannah.
All right, Aaron, thank you very much. Well, there's much more to come on this Monday edition of Morning News Now, including how the world's football fans are reacting to Spain's stunner of a performance on the pitch against Lionel Messi and his Argentine squad yesterday. First, though, after the break, we are taking you overseas, where Britain has just minted its 5th prime minister in just 4 years. His meeting with King Charles this morning, and where U.S.-UK relations might go from here. That's next. We are back with some breaking news out of the UK. Andy Burnham is officially the country's new prime minister after he met with King Charles earlier this morning. The newly appointed Labour leader takes over from Keir Starmer. In his first speech outside Downing Street, Burnham vowed to break the pattern of his predecessors and, quote, do better.
Britain needs to show the world that we can regain our stability once again. And that is our challenge, to make politics work, to make it work better. I know people at home are fed up with politics. I hear you, and I want to be honest with you. We have not been good enough, and we need to be better. We will be. We will make this moment a circuit breaker for Britain.
NBC News International correspondent Raf Sanchez joins us now from London. Raf, good morning. So the 7th prime minister for the UK in just over a decade. What should we know about Burnham, and what did we just hear from him?
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Yeah, so Andy Burnham said he is acutely aware that he is just the latest in what has kind of been a revolving door of prime ministers in this country. He said it is important for Britain to regain its stability, both for its domestic economy, but also for its standing on the world stage. Part of Burnham's appeal is that he is seen as a little more authentic, a little more likable, a little more human than your average politician. He's 56 years old. He's the former mayor of Manchester up in the north of England, and he's sometimes nicknamed the King of the North from Game of Thrones because his political heartland is outside of the Beltway here in London, if you will. He says that one of his top priorities is going to be moving power from London outside to other parts of the UK. But he's going to have a big task ahead of him as he tries to get what has been a pretty sluggish economy moving. Savannah.
Yeah, so that's obviously one of the pressing issues. Is it clear how much he's going to differ from Starmer?
Yeah, it's a really good question. They're both from the Labour Party. It's a progressive centre-left party. Burnham has indicated he wants to be a little more left-wing than Starmer. The reality is there isn't a whole lot of money for the government to spend here because the economy hasn't been in great shape. As I said, one of his priorities is moving power out to places like Manchester, where he was mayor. He says that these local authorities are in a better position to spend their money than national authorities. But he also is going to be dealing with the same crises on the world stage that Starmer dealt with, including Ukraine, including the Iran war, and the rising oil prices that are affecting economies worldwide. Savannah.
Raf, should we expect any drastic changes to UK-US relations with Burnham as PM?
So Burnham has said that he wants to have a good relationship with the United States. He has been critical of Donald Trump in the past, but we spoke to a former British cabinet minister who served in government alongside Burnham, and we asked him what he thought Burnham's approach to the president would be. Take a listen.
I think he will get on well with Donald Trump because he's a good conversationalist, and he's also very good at thinking on his feet. I mean, the thing with Donald Trump is you never really know what he's going to say. And sometimes if you're not a kind of flexible politician who can think on your feet, you get it wrong. He will be able to think on his feet and he'll be able to react with whatever Donald Trump throws at him.
So whether Andy Burnham can strike up a warm relationship with Donald Trump remains to be seen. Traditionally, the new British Prime Minister has spoken to the U.S. president within a couple of hours. We will see if that happens. The president, who has been critical of Burnham in the past, did have some warm words for him last night because it does sound like Burnham is going to allow for more oil drilling in the waters off of Scotland, which is something the president supports. Savannah.
All right, Raf, thank you so much for covering that breaking news for us. Well, staying outside the country, Chipotle is taking a bite out of the Mexican market, opening its first ever location south of the border. That might not surprise you. It's already cooking up some controversy. NBC News correspondent George Solis has more.
The hottest new restaurant in Mexico is Chipotle.
Un bowl, un burrito y una chip.
You heard that right.
Probando el primer Chipotle en Monterrey.
The burrito bowl giant is serving up its Americanized version of Mexican cuisine in the country that inspired it, And almost immediately,
did you guys hear that Chipotle is opening up a restaurant in Mexico?
The commentary has been anything but mild.
Why are people so up in arms about Chipotle opening up in Mexico?
Ahead of the official opening, local food content creators like Caro Zamora got an early taste.
It was amazing. Chipotle has finally arrived in Mexico.
But it's not the first American fast food chain to test local tastes. Taco Bell famously struggled to win over Mexican diners before its last location shut down in the early 2000s. Overseas, Domino's exited Italy in 2022 after Italians said no grazie to their pizzas.
It's like Panda Express opening up in a Cantonese province.
Mexican-American chef Claudette Cepeda understands the skepticism, but says Chipotle may prove to be the exception.
Can you call it Mexican food?
I wouldn't. I would call it American Mexican food or Mexican American food.
Cepeda says it's an important distinction which could make it easier for Mexican customers to embrace.
I think as long as they keep their ethos of using really good ingredients, cooking everything from scratch, I think it'll do actually really well.
Chipotle said it chose its location in Monterrey because of its strong economy, growing population, and status as one of the country's leading business and innovation hubs. Still, social media appears to be split.
The reception has been divided. A lot of people are saying they want to try it, and some others are telling that I don't like that.
Only time will tell, though, if Chipotle becomes a permanent craving or just a culinary curiosity. George Solis, NBC News.
That is a curious one, but now I do want Chipotle. All right, coming up, the MLB is back in the national spotlight this morning. Not for the reason you might think, though. When we come back, why players and coaches will have to think twice before picking up that dugout iPad during their games. That's next. Stay with us. Back now with a closer look at what's making news in the world of politics this morning, starting with Maine Democrats settling on a candidate for a crucial Senate race. NBC News political reporter Megan Brand has that and more. Hey, Megan, good morning.
Hey, Savannah, good morning. Yeah, let's start off in Maine, where former state Senate President Troy Jackson is looking to be Democrats' likely pick to replace Graham Plattner. Over the weekend, 4 major candidates dropped out of the race. It came as Maine Democrats voted this weekend on delegates for Saturday's convention. That's where 601 delegates will vote on who should be the party's candidate to take on Senator Susan Collins. Jackson supporters won most of the delegate seats this past weekend. Let's go next to the FBI, which will no longer investigate assault against a federal officer cases for confrontations with ICE agents. That's according to 2 people familiar with the directives. Now the FBI said in a memo that it would defer those cases to the investigative arm of ICE. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security, though, denied the policy change. In a statement, they said that, quote, the relationship between DHS and DOJ in investigating assault on federal officer cases has not changed. Finally, let's go to Second Lady Usha Vance, who gave birth yesterday. This is her 4th child, and she is now the first woman since the 1870s to give birth while her husband is serving as vice president. Vice President J.D. Vance announced the news in a statement saying that the baby boy's name is Alec Neil Vance. He said that Usha and baby Alec are, quote, happy and healthy, and our kids are overjoyed to meet their little brother. And that's a look at what's making news in politics this morning. Savannah?
All right, Megan, thank you so much. Well, we've got a bunch of sports news this morning. We're going to start on Major League Baseball. It's now restricting how teams use iPads during games, but it's what they're using them for that's drawing the most attention. Well, in a memo it was issued last week, the league said teams are no longer allowed to run artificial intelligence apps that could help make decisions about substitutions, pitch calling, and other in-game decisions that are traditionally made by players and coaches. For more on this, let's bring in Keith Law. He's a senior baseball writer at The Athletic. Keith, good morning. So first, just explain why it would matter so much if players and coaches have access to AI software during a game.
Well, I think some of this is the optics that baseball wants to preserve its tradition that these decisions are being made in real time by people. They can have some information at their fingertips. Obviously, prior to having iPads, it was paper binders or other documents. Earl Weaver famously used flashcards, like little index cards, to make these decisions. And the players and coaches can still have the iPads. They just cannot run these machine learning tools to do things like help predict what pitch the pitcher might throw next or tell them what pitch to call next, which might make better decisions, although I don't know. Given the track record of some of these LLMs, I'm not so sure about that.
Do we know if these AI apps and softwares, was it specifically helping any teams that were using it or giving anybody an unfair advantage?
So the team that's been named in a few of these reports is the New York Mets. Adam Ottavino had played for them for a couple of years, and he came out and said that owner Steve Cohen had invested several $100,000 in this software. The Mets are having one of the worst seasons of any team in baseball right now. So I don't know of any actual evidence that this was helping. I think Major League Baseball is just trying to get ahead of this before the tools get too advanced and do start affecting the play on the field.
Right. Is this going to have a big impact on coaching strategies, do you think, during the second half of the season?
No, I don't think so, because I don't think it was widespread enough. The reports have said only about a third of the team were using apps like this at all, and that doesn't even tell us how much they were using them or if they simply had access to them in the dugout. I do think this could have become a bigger issue down the line because obviously some AI, some machine learning tools can analyze all of the data sets and say, oh, this pitcher, say, is 90% likely to throw a splitter in this particular count in this situation. And that could really shift the balance a bit between pitchers and hitters in a way that is just not organic to the sport.
Fans probably remember something else that happened with these iPads, the league banning video on them. That was back in 2020. It was after the Houston Astros sign stealing scandal where the Astros had come up with this system to let their team know what signs their opponents were making on the field using a camera and monitors. This decision, though, it was reversed the next year. Walk us through that one. You think that the league is likely to reverse this decision potentially as well here?
You would have to see someone advocating for them to change it. So they can always change these policies. And this seems like it was very top down. Major League Baseball just saying, we don't like the direction this is going in. We're going to put a stop to it immediately. And then what happens is every offseason, all of the general managers have a meeting in November where they do discuss rule changes. And if a majority of the general managers say, no, we want access to some of these tools, we'll just put some guardrails around their usage, then Major League Baseball may reconsider the policy. I have a feeling, given the amount of money that is required to get these tools, you will see enough GMs and owners say, we don't want to go in that direction. We're fine with providing all that information to coaches before the games, which is what's been happening forever in the history of baseball, and just not giving them access to real-time prediction tools that might change how they're calling pitches or how hitters approach at-bats.
All right, Keith Law, fascinating. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Coming up, it's never too early to think about, wait for it, back-to-school shopping. I actually completely disagree with that statement and do think it's too early, but a lot of parents across the country are already stocking up on supplies for the new academic year. Where can you find the best deals for your family, though? We are watching your wallet next. This is Morning News Now. Welcome back. All right, in some parts of the country, back-to-school season is just around the corner. For a lot of us, summer is still going on, but families are already stocking up on the essentials. Nearly 2/3 of families say they've already started shopping. So where can parents find the best deals right now? We've got our friend, Chief Consumer Investigative Correspondent and NBC News Daily anchor, Vicki Nguyen, to tell us everything we need to know. Vicki, good morning. Okay,
Good morning.
This seems so early.
Happy back to school. No, I feel like summer just started.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
But here's the thing. Affordability is top of mind for families,
No kidding.
and so retailers are leaning into it. Target right now has its back-to-school sales up to 76% off of school supplies, like 25 cents for markers, crayons, folders, 49 cents for pencil sharpeners, $1 for pencil cases. Walmart is also rolling back prices on its 14 most popular items to the prices people paid in 2019. So affordability, they're really trying to help folks out. They also have things that are on trend, like those butter squishies that every kid loves.
Yeah.
They have a lot of merch like that. K-pop Demon Hunters continues to be a big deal. And clothing, that is actually where families spend the bulk of their budget these days. Retail Me Not says that's actually now the #1 category for back to school over school supplies themselves. Wow. So Kohl's, we scoured their website. We found thousands of items starting at $25 or less from big brands, Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas, and then Old Navy. everything for kids is 50% off. I know, it's so great for kids who are growing out of everything every 6 months. Their items starting at $5, and they have a whole section for uniforms too, Savannah. Did you have to wear a uniform ever?
No, I didn't.
Me neither.
Ooh, baby, the back-to-school clothes shopping and figuring out, like, planning your outfit for every day of the first week at least. Wait, what's the uniform section of Old Navy? What does that mean?
So, like, you know, uniforms. Kids have to wear khaki or navy blue or white shirts on top and skirts and pants on the bottom.
When it's not provided, it's just
when
like
it's not provided and you have to buy your own.
General guidelines.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, well, also, like, the lists are so long between all the clothes that every kid needs, all the supplies they're going to need, and when you've got multiple children, of course, it's a lot for families. How can families deal with that?
So we talked with smart shopping expert Trey Waj, and I love this. It's all about getting your kids involved in making the list, setting the budget, and also taking an inventory. Like, is your backpack totally fine from last year? Do we still have 85 glue sticks? We don't need to buy new ones, right? So you need to make a list of what you already have, then setting the budget and involving them. That way, when they come back and they're like, but I have to have these jeans or I have to have these Jordans, you look at the budget and you go, all right, well, what's going to fall off the list? Or are we using some of your summer money from your job or your allowance to help offset the cost here? Stephanie Carls over at Retail Me Not says also, don't get overwhelmed. Spread it out. That helps with the budget. But also, you really only need to shop for day one, meaning like a few outfits, the lunchbox, the basic school supplies that you need. And then when they go to school, odds are they're going to see, oh, Savannah is wearing this. I want those too. They're going to come back with a whole nother list.
No one was looking at me, honey. You know what is scarring from this time for me, though, is my parents made me have a rolly backpack.
Oh. Because they were protecting your back?
Not surprising, yes.
Yes, because the stuff is heavy. I'm telling you, what kids carry to school these days, it's like the whole locker in their backpack. It's
and
nuts.
Textbooks and everything, but oh, God.
One thing I will mention. Well, they became cool eventually, the rolly bag, didn't they? Didn't they? I thought so. Tax-free holidays. I will say, if you're buying a rolly bag, those are expensive, so you want to make sure that you save on taxes. Florida's tax-free holiday. Florida's tax-free holiday starts today, goes through August 20th. Connecticut, Illinois, Texas, and a bunch of other states come online next week. Oh, for sure. If you're saving 7, 8, some cases, state sales tax is like 9%. So that's like getting a discount on top of the sales.
Anything that parents should hold off on until closer to schools actually starting?
For sure. Electronics. If you are in the market for a computer or a tablet or a laptop or something like that, wait till August. If you really can wait, Black Friday is when you see the rock bottom prices on electronics for sure. And then winter clothes. You don't need any of that, and the longer you wait, the lower the prices will go.
Oh my gosh, are your girls all about their outfits?
You know what's super interesting? I feel like they just kind of get a little bit here and there throughout the year. It's not as big of a deal to do all of the back to school all at once, which is kind of nice, actually.
Yeah, that is nice.
Spread it out.
All right, Vicki, thank you. Great tips. Well, now let's get to our ongoing series, Business in America. While fast food companies grapple with the weight loss drug boom and rising beef prices, one major chain is looking to lean into their burger business. NBC News Now anchor Hallie Jackson sat down with the president of Burger King to get his take on the future of fast food.
Hey, how are you?
Good morning.
Running to the drive-thru may be easy.
Have a good one.
But running the restaurant, harder these days, with fast food facing bigger headwinds and smaller appetites.
This is my Chipotle GLP-1 friendly meal.
Nearly 4 times as many Americans take GLP-1s than just 2 years ago. One survey finding people on these weight loss drugs dine out half as much, with 78% cutting out quick service spots.
Is the rise of weight loss drugs going to kill off fast food?
No, absolutely not. I mean, fast food is about convenience. It's about great flavor and great value. I still think you need that.
Tom Curtis, the president of Burger King, says so far the proliferation of weight loss drugs hasn't taken a bite out of business, but he can see what's on the horizon.
My impulse has always been that this GLP-1 movement is going to have a profound impact on the industry. We haven't seen it yet, so I keep telling the team, hey, we need to be prepared for this. The data has shown us that people keep coming for Whoppers, and the Whopper's the biggest burger in the fast food business, and I think people are looking for smaller portions.
All of it as many folks are tightening their belts figuratively, too, looking for dining discounts. Companies like McDonald's, Wendy's, Taco Bell rolling out meal deals to compete for customers. But beef prices are soaring, up nearly 12% since last year, cutting fast food profit margins. At Burger King, Curtis says they're eating that, asking franchisees not to pass that cost to customers buying Whoppers.
How long is that feasibly sustainable?
Yeah, so I would say it's sustainable indefinitely you can outrun those costs just by growing traffic, and that's what this is all about. Everybody's out there trying to sell chicken. We're leaning into burgers and beef.
But I believe that you'd wanted to have 85% of the stores renovated by 2028.
That's correct.
Falling short of that goal a bit. Why is that?
Beef. Beef prices are exactly why we're falling short of that. It's slowed the pace down. What it hasn't slowed down is the conviction and the belief from our owners and from ourselves that this is working.
Here in Miami, one of those recently renovated restaurants.
He's the president of Burger King.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Hey, how are you?
And the push for a new and improved customer experience, driven by a direct line to the top.
Hi, I'm Tom Curtis, president of Burger King. And here's my number.
Level with me. Is it really your number?
I have 2 numbers, and it is one of my
It really
numbers.
is?
Yes.
What's the most surprising thing you heard from one of these phone calls or text messages?
There's so many surprising things. Bring back the 90s fries, improve your friendliness.
And that leading the company to roll out a brand new staff position starting this week that Curtis says will elevate friendliness, the Your Way champion.
It's somebody whose priority is to care about the guest, whatever that means.
Hoping to reel in repeat customers along with a new Whopper guarantee.
Now, if your Whopper isn't made your way, we won't just remake it. Your next one will be on us.
These Your Way champions, they can't just go through the motions. They got to feel it. They got to really care.
The competition for your burger business heating up.
All right, thanks to Hallie Jackson for that report. And this is cool. You can watch an extended version of that sit-down interview with an NBC News subscription. Just scan the QR code. It's on your screen right now. Download the NBC News app and subscribe. Coming up, the world reacts this morning to its new kings of soccer. Everything you might have missed from yesterday's stunning Spanish victory over Lionel Messi and the men of Argentina. As the men of Spain arrive back home, those are live pictures of them there in Madrid. We'll have more next on Morning News Now.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.